I wasn't always like this. I used to be something that you would have recognized so well that you wouldn't even notice me. I wouldn't tie your stomach in knots the way I do now. I was a normal girl, average, well-liked by my peers. You might have chatted with me at a party if you knew me back then. You wouldn't have noticed the black mold of loneliness growing in the marrow of my bones like a cancer. I'm a foreign entity to you now, shivering in a wind that you can't feel and cursing in a language that you can't speak. Yet you sense a completeness about me that is keeping you from running away and telling yourself that I'm just a nightmare. Sit down. Let me tell you how I became this way. You'll understand, though it's unlikely you'll fear me any less.
Hey, go do the one.
I went to high school, just like you. I grew up and eventually accepted an opportunity to play golf for a private college, a day's drive from my hometown. The opportunity was great and superficially impressive. The city was bigger, my apartment was small, and my time and money were tightly spent. The added responsibility of a prestigious university meant that my friends were further and fewer in between. I was lonelier than I ever thought possible. What I really needed was a companion with no other obligations, a human with no life or needs of their own except to join me in mine. Essentially, a ghost. I would have killed for a pet ghost. Suddenly, it dawned on me that that wasn't such a bad idea. The planning took some time, but Lexi was an obvious choice. The issue was that poison leaves loose ends. I wanted to be haunted by my friend for the rest of my life, not by murder speculations. I couldn't risk any poison put in some pickle juice being traced back to me. Additionally, my internet research about ghosts informed me that if Lexi was going to come back and haunt me, she would need to know that I killed her before she died. The strongest way to establish a connection is eye contact, just before a violent death. So that was that. I would have to look her in her lovely blue eyes while I robbed the life from her body, and I would have to find a way to close the police case quickly. Someone was going to have to take the fall. Meredith was another one of my teammates. She can be very kind, but she was notoriously hot-tempered, and she had her fair share of enemies. It would not take a Picasso to paint her as a violent murderess. Initially, I was just going to set her up, but I decided a court case had too many uncontrollable variables. I'd watched Meredith lie before, and she was very good at it. She'd make an even more passionate truth teller, especially if prison were on the line. After much consideration, I knew my best shot at executing my plan and getting away with it was to kill them both and frame it as murder-suicide. When we got to Hall 16, which is the furthest hall from the clubhouse, my heart skipped a beat. I had really just left it up to chance for there to be no one behind us, and we were completely alone. It seemed like a sign from the universe. All my doubts were put to ease, and I had no second thoughts about what I did next. Meredith's back was to me while she was teeing off. Lexi was on the tee box, waiting to go next. I crept behind Lexi, took my stance, adjusted my grip, and trusted my swing, like I always did. The back of her skull cracked a bit as I made contact. I knelt beside her and rested her head in my lap. This part was urgent. The whole thing would be a waste if I let her slip away before I made eye contact. "Lexi," I screamed. Her senses were a bit bludgeoned, understandably. Still, I had to make sure she heard me. "It's me! Jenna, look!" Her eyelids twitched, and she met my gaze with her sky blue eyes. I leaned in and whispered that it was absolutely me who had killed her. Meredith turned around just in time to see me kneeling next to my injured friend. "What happened?" she asked, alarmed. "Something fell out of the sky and hit Lexi, I guess." That was a ludicrous thing to say, but to Meredith, anything would have made more sense in that moment than the idea that I had randomly murdered our good friend. "You stay there," I said, taking advantage of her shock. "I'll go help." I hopped in the golf cart and ran Meredith over where she stood. She died at impact, but she was facing me like a deer in headlights. There's no way she didn't understand what had happened. I drove Meredith's body to the bottom of a hill, and then I drove the cart just behind it, leaving the gear in neutral. My story was that Meredith had gotten angry after hitting a terrible tee shot and accidentally hit Lexi when she threw her club. Even though Lexi's death was clearly an accident, I was in shock. I took off running toward the clubhouse, and when I came back with the clubhouse attendant, the guilt had been too much for Meredith. She put the cart in neutral at the top of a hill and threw herself under it. Killing them both was beneficial, not only because it was a functional way to close a police case, but also it was beneficial spiritually. Lexi and Meredith knew each other well in life, and they had a murderess in common. Nothing unites people like shared anger. This universal truth remains solid even in the infinite, smoky oblivion of the afterlife. I was confident they could charge each other's energies. I would see my friends again. For this hope, I barely felt the guilt of my sins, even as weeks went by. Nothing could have shaken my certainty that they would return. Finally, 1:03 a.m., I was disturbed from my easy sleep by the unzipping of my golf bag. My 7-iron floated out of its slot, through the air to my bed, where it began to beat me, shattering one kneecap and deeply bruising my body. I felt the pain, but just barely. I was overcome with joy. This was affirmation I had been waiting for. My labors were fruitful. I limped through the days as if nothing had changed, and I came home every evening to another night of anonymous torture. Every crack of my bones and blow to my body fostered a hope in me. It affirmed that Lexi and Meredith were absolutely strong enough to kill me, but they were choosing not to. If I could just play my cards right through this, the three of us were on the verge of becoming the most powerful creature this existence has ever witnessed. The night came at last where I clearly recognized the figures hammering golf tees into my thighs. I heard them laughing about how left out I would feel if I knew how many hilarious ghost inside jokes they made about their float down the river of souls. "Hey guys," I said. I had to speak to let them know I could hear them now, but there isn't really a proper way to greet people whom you are seeing for the first time since you murdered them without hesitation. Since my friends were vengeful ghosts who had escaped the gravity of an afterlife, I hardly startled them. "Why did you kill us?" demanded Meredith. Lexi nodded rapidly in support of the question. I explained to them that I killed them because I loved them and I wanted to hang out with them more, which unfortunately did not make as much sense to them as it did to me. It took another few weeks, but after bludgeonings, I was able to paint the picture of the potential that I saw for us. My teammates finally laid down their clubs and let me sleep through the night. The next morning, I awoke to find my body had healed. Me and my ghost homies had a life to plan. People say there is no money in the LPGA Tour, so we decided to skip that. We waltzed right onto the PGA Tour. I just hit the ball wherever I felt like it, and Lexi would ghost grab it and make sure I got good bounces, while Meredith made sure all my putts went in. No one could prove I was cheating, since ghosts are invisible, so my buddies made absolutely no attempt to make my good fortune look realistic. I quickly became a national icon. Some people thought I was a golf messiah. However, my more secular fans just called me an unteachable talent. We hit $1 million in 3 days and then professionally retired. We had a lot of fun on tour. Meredith took over my body at one point and used her princess charm to get us invited to Tiger Woods' birthday party. While we were there, Lexi used my body to order a burger with pickles, which really confused Britney Spears, because the week before I told her that I hated burgers. When she confronted me, one of my eyeballs fell out of my head. I just picked it up and put it back in. Apparently, Meredith and Lexi had made my body more of a spiritual medium, just as I had made theirs more physical. Together, we were a short-circuiting trinity of fun. It would have been wise to stay out of the spotlight and lay low after the eyeball incident. We were fortunate that Britney Spears left her credibility in 2007. However, we were way too charismatic, cool, and beautiful for that. The climb up the social ladder of clout and power was very easy for us. One evening, we were having the time of our life at Waka Flocka Flame's private island. I was telling Waka how lyrically clever his song No Hands was. Lexi was doing handstands on the dance floor, and Meredith was sampling all the sushi, until somehow, on this remote private island where none of us had any connections, Meredith saw someone she knew. It was one of her ex-boyfriends. He had cheated on her with her best friend. Lexi and I had both seen Meredith's rage in life, but we had never really felt it in our own bodies. Suddenly, I heard myself screaming in Meredith's voice, and blue lasers, the color of Lexi's eyes, shot out of my face. The lasers carved Meredith's name on the side of her ex-boyfriend's car and then blew the whole thing up. Waka Flocka had us locked into the nation's most secure mental institution. They are very easy to escape when you are actually possessed. We did all the basic horror movie stuff. Lexi would flicker the lights while Meredith and I changed faces. The employees were so scared of us that we probably could have broken out whenever we wanted, but it was kind of dope to be out of the spotlight for a bit and just get back and relax. We stayed for 3 months, and then, when we were ready to go, we blew the wall up just for fun. And now you're all caught up to speed. I'm just chilling out here in the middle of nowhere with my 3 spirits and my 1 body, looking deranged, in a mental institution gown, plotting my next move. Murdering my best friends has honestly made my life so full.